So, in my head, I was thinking the Hulk when I wrote the script. Guess who they made the hero look like? Chuck Norris.
Some superheroes can grow to the size of a building at will. That's very intimidating, but a scientist must ask where the extra material is coming from. The law of conservation of mass implies that mass can neither be created nor destroyed, which means that our hero's mass will not change just because his size changes. For instance, when we bake a fluffy sponge cake, even though the resulting delicious treat is much bigger in size than the cake batter that went into the oven, the weight of the cake batter should still equal the weight of the cake plus the moisture that has evaporated. In a chemical equation, molecules rearrange to make new compounds, but all the components should still be accounted for.
Okay, so this is called conservation of mass. In the movie X-Men, Mystique is constantly impersonating other people. I'm just like, people, just pick her up. She must weigh how much, like 120 pounds tops? When she's impersonating Wolverine with his big builds plus adamantium bones, I don't know, 300 pounds? It's not, you don't even have to test this knowledge, just like step on that scale, or just let me lift you up a little bit. I feel like all the important meetings should just have a scale by the door. Everybody step on that scale. The senator weighs 250 pounds. Arrest this guy, or this woman. That's one way you can tell whether Mystique is impersonating somebody. Another way is, she is naked all the time, because she doesn't actually wear clothes. She just makes her body looks like the clothes that whoever she's impersonating is wearing. So, Senator, can you remove your jacket? Why not? Give me a button. Give me a sock. Give me something. You know, just ask them to take something off. But I also feel like if I tell this to the people in the X-Men universe, you would just find a lot of naked senators, because then she would now have to steal their clothes as well. Because once they catch on to him, she's like, oh man, I'm going to have to take off a piece of my nail. I can't do this. Give me your clothes. That would suck.
When our hero expands from 6 feet tall to 18 feet tall, his height triples. Galileo's square cube law says his weight will be 27. 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. Times his regular weight, since he has to expand in all 3 dimensions. So, when our superhero transforms into a giant, we are dealing with 2 possibilities. Our hero, towering at 18 feet, still only weighs 200 pounds, the original weight in his human form. Now, option 2, our hero weighs 5,400 pounds. 200 pounds times 27 equals 5,400 pounds. When he is 18 feet tall, which means he also weighs 5,400 pounds when he is 6 feet tall.
Ooh. Ooh.
Nobody can get in the same elevator with him without the alarm going off. Now, option 2 seems a little more scientifically plausible, but it begs the question, how does he ever walk through the park without sinking into the ground, since the pressure he is exerting on the soil is calculated by his mass divided by the area of the bottom of his feet? And what kind of super socks and super shoes is he putting on his feet to withstand all the friction that results from dragging his 5,400-pound body against the road when he runs? Oh, and can he even run? And I won't even ask how he finds pants flexible enough to withstand the expansion.
Right, you don't need to be a scientist or have 3 useless science degrees to wonder, how does he get to keep his pants on? I mean, the Edward Norton one at least somewhat addressed it. He went to the thrift shop just like, and then he kind of pointed the pants against a really large woman's like, and then he bought it. Well, in the comics, I think Dr. Reed from Fantastic Four actually made him a pair of shorts that would expand with him, which makes sense. But let's go back to conservation of mass again, since we're talking about Ant-Man. So Ant-Man movie just first came out. I feel bad for my family and friends, just whenever they go to see a superhero movie with me, I'm just like, bullshit! I'm sorry, just... bullshit! Wait, no! So, considering in the movie, they actually made a very noble effort of explaining that they shrunk him down by somehow figuring a way to decrease the distance between atoms. Now, if everybody paid attention in high school, in an atom, most of the mass is in the center, in the nucleus, where the neutrons and the protons are. And most of it is empty space. So that actually kind of makes sense. It's like if you take a cake and just like mush it down to like a flat piece of dough, or squeezing a sponge. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But then he will still weigh the same, which means no ant will be able to like carry him anywhere. As soon as he steps on his pet ant, squashed, just squashed. Now, I'm not going to ruin anything for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, so let's talk about the scene in the trailer. In the trailer, he was running up a guy's arm and just punching him in the face, right? Remember that scene? Kind of. Okay, a few things. First of all, he's not even the length of an ant. He's the height of an ant, okay? Running from here to here, this is like a football field to him. Okay, how are you running this fast? You're not supposed to be running this fast. Okay, let's say he runs here. You got to get on the chin to punch the chin. All right, this is like the Grand Canyon. How is he jumping that? Honestly, he has no other superpowers other than that. Okay, let's say he runs. Remember, he's still 200 pounds. He's going to fall on the floor. The guy's going to drop him. All right, so let's say he defies all odds and somehow hop on the guy's chin and he punches down. Now, considering force is mass times acceleration, I can imagine, okay, somebody with his mass can definitely serve up a really powerful blow. But pressure is force divided by area. He's this big. Okay, and his fist is a tiny size of a needle. He's not even going to hit bone, okay? He's just going to go straight through this guy's skin and maybe make his face fat jiggle a little bit. And that's all he's going to do. Sometimes size matters. I don't know what to tell you guys. Whoever told you guys size doesn't matter. Right, sometimes it matters. And unfortunately, if you can't hit bone, all you're doing is you're basically turning yourself into a tattoo gun. So Scott Lang will make a great tattoo artist because that's all he's doing. He's punching the guy's skin like only this much in. Like, okay, are you? Like, what are you doing to me? He'd be really good zip popper, but it's not gonna do anything to the guy's face. You can't even reach like anything hard. Like you're just making all the like fat jiggle. So, sorry. You know, I think there are two kinds of people. There's the people like me that go, bullshit. And then there's people like, oh, okay, cool. By explaining in detail how they shrunk the guy down, it's kind of, it doesn't really satisfy anybody. I feel like they should just keep it really, really vague and just say something like, we found a way to manipulate the quantum mechanics of atoms, allowing us to change the chemical and physical properties of everything. But let me not bore you with science. Let me show you what you mean. And that's it. And this way, I can't say anything, and then everybody else is like, oh, that sounds scientific, and makes everybody happy. Just keep it vague, you know. Don't go into details. And when all of us next day just like, did you watch Ant-Man? Yeah. Conservation of mass? Yeah. We're just like, we're talking about this. But as a teacher, I guess I'm happy that they are, because now I can talk about this with my kids, and they love me for it. So, yay.
Now, let's explore the density of the two options mentioned above. Density is defined as mass divided by volume. The human body is made out of bones and flesh, which has a relatively set density. In option 1, if the hero weighs 200 pounds all the time, then he would be bones and flesh at normal size. When he expands to a bigger size while still weighing 200 pounds, he essentially turns himself into a giant, fluffy teddy bear. Hi! In option 2, if the hero weighs 5,400 pounds all the time, then he would be bones and flesh at 18 feet, with 5,400 pounds of weight supported by 2 legs. The weight will be exerted on the leg bones at different angles as he moves. Bones, while hard, are not malleable, meaning they do not bend, so they break easily. The tendons would also be at risk of tearing. Tall buildings stay standing because they have steel frames and do not run and jump around in the jungle. Our hero, on the other hand, one landing at a bad angle, and he's down. Oh!
By the way, this voice, except most TED Ed winners voice their own. I'm just like, English is hard for me. I don't want to do it. Yes, I totally just said English, but I'm Asian, so I get to do that. So they hired a voice actor to do this whole series, James Arnold Taylor. He is just fantastic. Let's talk about, this is why King Kong doesn't really exist in real life. Now, we see the big dinosaurs. They have these huge, humongous legs that are really short and stubby, you know. You don't get to bend and jump around. But King Kong, with his body size and bone density and muscle mass, he's not going to be able to jump very much. Actually, he'd just be lucky to survive at that size, because we're talking about the amount of oxygen you will have to breathe in just to sustain the way that your body and your blood flows. So King Kong can't really exist in real life, and neither can dinosaurs for that matter. And the reason why they existed back then is because back then the atmosphere had a lot higher oxygen content, but in 2015, sorry, no Jurassic Park for you. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, maybe children can sleep better. I'm trying to make up for the fact they call me Killjoy of Dreams.
Assuming his bodily function is the same as any mammals, his heart would need to pump a large amount of blood throughout his body to provide enough oxygen for him to move 5,400 pounds of body weight around. This would take tremendous energy, which he would need to provide by consuming 27 times 3,000 calories of food every day. Now that is roughly 150 Big Macs. 27 times 3,000 calculated equals 81,000 calculated / 550 calories equals 147. He wouldn't have time to fight crime because he would be eating all the time and working a 9-to-5 job in order to afford all the food he eats. And what about superheroes who can turn their bodies into rocks or sand? Well, everything on Earth is made out of elements, and what defines each element is the number of protons in the nucleus. That is how our periodic table is organized. Hydrogen has 1 proton. Helium, 2 protons, lithium, 3 protons, and so on. The primary component of the most common form of sand is silicon dioxide. Meanwhile, the human body consists of 65% oxygen, 18% carbon, 10% hydrogen, and 7% of various other elements, including 0.002% of silicon. In a chemical reaction, the elements recombine to make new compounds. So where is he getting all the silicon necessary to make the sand? Sure, we can alter elements by nuclear fusion or nuclear fission. However, nuclear fusion requires so much heat, the only natural occurrence of this process is in stars. In order to utilize fusion in a short amount of time, the temperature of the area needs to be hotter than the sun. Every innocent bystander will be burned to a crisp. Wow! Rapid nuclear fission is not any better, since it often results in many radioactive particles. Our hero would become a walking, talking nuclear power plant, ultimately harming every person he tries to save. And do you really want the heat of the sun or a radioactive nuclear plant inside of your body?
Oh, that burns.
Sorry, again, much funnier in my head when I was writing the script. And they said, so the process is somebody nominated me for Lessons Worth Sharing when TED Ed and Cole's Cares came together to look for the lessons that are worth animating. And I submitted one, and apparently they liked all 6, so they asked me to do all 6. And then after the scripts, a lot of rewriting, and they send you the storyboards, and then they animate them. And the storyboards didn't look this bad. It was just like, oh, we're going to show this, we're going to show that. It really kind of like it's just stick figures, so you don't see how bad the characters are going to look until it's done. And then I watch it at home like, oh, wow, this is not going to be good. So that's what happened.